You know, sometimes the bravest thing we can say is hello. So hello, my name is Sawchuk, and this is my idea worth spreading. Believe it or not, I just took a risk. I want you to look to the person beside you, turn your head, and say hello. It probably doesn't feel very risky, does it? It's something we do every day. And every day, as each of us in this room goes through our daily routine, we pass by people from all walks of life. From cashiers, to bankers, to consultants, to teachers, to students just like you or I. Classifying each with a title we perceive as right or normal. A title that gives us a sense of comfort for that brief moment in time. And we put labels on everyone, including the homeless. But sometimes we choose to simply ignore them, deciding to leave them nameless as we pass them by. These are labels that govern our actions. We often find ourselves intimidated by the moneymakers and the movers and shakers as we try and be respectful and friendly to those we perceive as above us. On July 13th, 2013, as we were passing through the streets of Vancouver, we approached a busy intersection. Robson was an iconic street, filled with some of the world's most recognizable brands that represented a successful life lived in the eyes of many. And through all this glitz and glamour, I paused. My eyes zoned in on a man in a white t-shirt and blue jeans, which was such a stark contrast to the plethora of tailored suits that created a patchwork down the city street. And I couldn't really figure out why. Even with that pause, I couldn't really figure out why I zoned in on this man. He had the same set of eyes, nose, ears, and mouth as everyone in this room. But it's just that his beard was like a blanket covering his voice and hiding his true emotions. By this point in my life, I'd already taken on many risks. From driving without my parents for the first time, to my very first basketball tryout here at Rundle, and even the risk that landed me right there in Vancouver to take on my first summer internship during university. I couldn't really piece it together. All I wanted to do was say hello, but for some reason, this risk seemed very different. He was a person after all, a man who I'd never met before, and an individual who never had a chance to develop a picture of me based on what he saw on social media. So why did I perceive meeting Jeremy as such a risk? I'd met other Jeremys in my life before, and they kind of fell into the same categories as every Sam, Matt, Joe, and Bill I'd met. They were all people. They're all people after all. So I couldn't really figure out why this was any different. So flash forward a few minutes, and there we were, sitting on the street beside Jeremy, our legs crossed, his hand pointing up to a glistening office tower that soared high above us. A simple risk, a simple hello, and there we were, awestruck. I remember looking over at our co-founder, Evan, struggling to piece together what I'd just heard. It all started when Evan asked Jeremy about his family life. He told us that he had a relatively normal upbringing, he grew up loving football, and he had a great relationship with his sister and his mother. And as I was putting together his speech, I started to realize that Evan's story shared a lot of similarities with Jeremy's. He played high school football throughout his time at Rundle, and he had a great relationship with his sister Kate that almost mirrored what Jeremy had just told us. Through a variety of twists and turns, ups and downs, and different circumstances, Jeremy found himself right here, and his sister just steps away. This got us wondering, was Jeremy's sister also homeless? No. It turns out that Jeremy's sister was a senior partner at a firm that overlooked the place he slept every single night. Like me, when you heard this, you're probably shocked. You're probably trying to figure out how is that even possible. So I want you to pause, and I want you to envision his sister in that very spot where we met Jeremy, sitting there nameless, her eyes pinned to the ground, harmless to those around her. Would you take the risk to approach this woman? I mean, she was a successful businesswoman after all, but how would we determine if she really needed our help? Was she even worthy of a simple hello? Although you may not realize it, Jeremy and his sister shared many common traits. They each had a voice, a story, and a set of circumstances that have shaped their life experiences. Jeremy was not the only person we met that day that was suffering from homelessness, and it really became apparent to us that society's problem with the homeless could not be solved in corporate boardrooms or city hall meetings. Evan and I each took a small individual risk that day to reach out and say hello. And to this day, we're proud to say that over 2,500 hellos and meals have been given out by Sandwich First Story volunteers. So that day, we wanted to tell the world what we experienced. It was something so simple, but there was something really there to tell. So we rushed back to my apartment, and we began putting together a small blog documenting our experiences. And I can just remember the last line of that blog was a quote that Jeremy left us with. He said, "Strangers are just friends we've never met before." The why was simple. Stigma prevented these siblings from connecting, and we just couldn't look away. And we just couldn't look away. And this was really the beginning of Sandwich for a Story. And today our mission remains the same: to break down barriers between homeless populations and the rest of society through simple acts of engagement. We strongly believe that by connecting passionate people with the disenfranchised in their community, that we can help cultivate a sense of understanding that is essential to ending negative stereotypes that confine the lives of so many homeless people across the globe. And the why really extends well beyond the people we've had the chance to meet. Every year in Canada, 200,000 people, just like us in this room, go homeless. 150,000 people, just like us in this room, are forced to use a shelter at some point. And 30,000 people are homeless on any given night. On top of that, 50,000 people are part of the hidden homeless, a group forced to live with friends or relatives because they have nowhere else to go. And so those stats are probably really hard to conceptualize for many of us in this room. 200,000 different individuals tossed into a category we call the homeless. So as Evan and I were kind of digging into these stats, we came across a stat that said that across Canada, each night, there are 65,000 youth, just like me, and many of us in this room, that are forced to live on the streets because they have nowhere else to go. This was a figure that really connected with us. So we decided to just ask a few of our friends and family, what would you do if you found out someone close to you was about to go homeless? From Calgary to Costa Rica to Melbourne to Glasgow, people responded. I would offer them my couch until they could get back on their feet. I would tell them the system has failed you and society has turned its back, but I refuse to let you fail. My home is your home. I would definitely make dinner and offer them a place to stay. And I would tell them, you can move in with us. We don't have an extra room, so you can share mine. The energy of compassion can be our strongest tool in giving people back the sense of dignity they deserve. A smile, a hand, a hello. A reminder that even if you cannot give monetarily, we all have something within ourselves to give. A belief that it is not us versus them. Them creates the other, isolating, insulting, and marginalizing. Our friend Bill from the UK told us, the worst thing about being homeless is not the cold and not the hunger. It's the fact that people walk by you and look down at you like it's your fault. Our friend Mark from Victoria told us, I just want to be able to drink coffee in the morning. I want to chat with the neighbors, and I want to sit on my couch and watch a little bit of TV. Simply, I want the old life back, or my old life back, one I'm incapable of living due to my financial situation. All of us in this room have a story. We have a voice, and we have a set of circumstances that have shaped our life experiences. Take a risk, share your story with the world, and let others share theirs, because sometimes the bravest thing you can say is hello. Thank you very much.